My wife slept with my best friend and now wants to work things out. I, 36 male, have been with my wife, 35 female, for 17 years. We have 3 children together. I was always of the mindset that I wanted monogamy in life. One woman to come home to and that I'd be with for the long haul. I had women try to talk to me over the years, but I never pursued it because I was completely content in my marriage. My wife was my dream girl, and I never wanted to hurt her. Over the years, there was 2 occasions where I discovered she was being unfaithful in our marriage. One was an off and on again affair that lasted a few years with her married coworker, and the other was a fling with an ex she dated in high school when she went to visit her family states away. I'm sure there will be people who say I am stupid, which looking back I can't even deny myself, but after a period of separation with both situations, I decided to forgive my wife, as I never wanted to raise my children in a broken home like I had been, and I really felt like we could make it through it. We were young whenever the situation with her coworker happened, so I chalked it up to being young and making dumb choices without thinking. For a while things were seemingly okay. I never fully trusted her, but I tried my best to push back my doubts because I knew if I decided to forgive her then I had to do my best to move past it and have a clean slate. It's been 4 years since the second time she'd been unfaithful, and I felt like I made the right decision by letting her have that chance to show she still wanted to be in our marriage. She was a different person for years, and we were happy and even had various things set in motion for the future of our family. However, 2 months ago my reality was once again shattered by yet another incident, which in my mind was by far worse than the others. I ended up receiving a message from one of my best friend's wives. This friend knew my wife a little. He'd met her in passing, but it wasn't like we all hung out together or anything like that for me to even worry about them. We worked together, so there was sometimes my wife would bring him up multiple times while we were talking about work. She would bring me coffee to work and also one for him. I noticed when she did, she dressed in more revealing clothing than she usually wore, but I never commented on it. She even convinced me that we should buy him a joint birthday present and take him out for drinks on his birthday. Just little things like that which were obviously weird, but like I said, I didn't think I had anything to worry about with either of them. To my knowledge, he had a good marriage with his wife. He never spoke badly about it, so I didn't think he'd have any interest either. Not to mention we'd actually been friends for a very long time, and I trusted him. I'd make comments in a joking way to my wife about how she took too much of an interest in him, and she laughed it off, saying she just wanted to have another couple to be friends with. She never actually tried to plan anything as far as to hang out with him and his wife as a couple. I agreed they would be good to be friends with, so again I never thought too much into the overly friendliness of my wife with him. Turns out I was way wrong not to, because I was met with multiple screenshots implying they were engaged in a full-out affair. I wanted to get my proof situated before I ended up confronting my wife, because I didn't want her to have the opportunity to manipulate the situation or try to lie her way out of it. So I started to go through call logs, credit statements, etc., because I didn't know how far this actually went past the social media screenshots I saw. When the truth came out, neither of them tried to lie to me about it. I found out they were sneaking off to hotels when she was supposed to be doing doubles at work, and he was supposed to be off with family, and that my friend would leave work to go see her at her job basically every day for a month, and she'd meet up with him on his lunch breaks. They were even planning a weekend at a hotel for the next weekend before the truth came out. I obviously cut ties with my friend, and honestly I have no idea what to do about my situation with my wife. Their affair ended, and my wife apologized profusely, saying she just got carried away. She said that she'd felt lacking in our marriage with both of us dedicating so much time to work/other things, and that my friend was there and a nice guy. She said she let herself envy the way he treated his wife and wished she could have had that with me, but was afraid to tell me I wasn't doing enough in our marriage. So in her words, she made a mistake and that she didn't know how to end it once it started. For now we are living in the same house because realistically neither of us have the means to leave right now, as her family doesn't live here, plus the costs of renting and houses here are absurd, and on top of that, we still have our children in our house who are all still in school. She is basically trying to do anything to keep me around, including telling me I can see women casually outside of our marriage. As long as I come home to her, she would never hold it against me as cheating. I told her that's not much of a marriage, and it's certainly not anything I ever set out to have, but she is hellbent on keeping our family together by any means. She's even brought up how we shouldn't let our kids live in a broken home because of our marital issues. I guess my wife is under the impression that nothing could make me want out of this marriage, and that by offering things like that she thinks will fix our marriage. I guess in a way that is my fault for letting so much slide in the past. I do love her in some ways, but at this point I think the love is more just from the fact we have kids together, and that I've been with her for nearly 2 decades rather than feelings of being in love. My self-confidence is low and my wife is out of my league, but still I don't think that's enough of a reason to stay. She claims she loves me and doesn't want to lose all we've built and are building toward, but to me, I just can't see how that can be true when she was so okay with running around with one of my only friends. I can't trust her. To me, her word is meaningless. I forgive her, then how long until she goes and does it again? I do think people can make mistakes and be forgiven because people are flawed, but this isn't just one slip up. And truth be told, my faith in her is so low I don't even know if there's been more instances on top of the ones I actually know about. My mental state is essentially a puddle of mud right now. I'm sure there's probably someone reading this calling me a dumbass, and I can't even argue that, but yeah, basically my life is a shit show and I don't know how to proceed. I am divorcing my wife after finding out that my son is not mine. Well, a couple of weeks ago I found out that my wife cheated on me 6 years ago, The way I found out is that her sister told me after going to visit her to find out how the delivery of her first child was. She confessed to me that 6 years ago my wife told her that she slept drunk with her best friend. In her words, my wife was very sorry. At the time she told me I was with my son. And immediately after leaving her house I went to take a paternity test with him, fearing the worst. A week later I get the results and my fears came true. My son is not mine. For some reason, I began to see the boy differently, more as an acquaintance than a son. With proofs in hand I confronted my wife at night when the child was sleeping. She asked me who told me and I simply told her that it is none of her business. Although obviously it will not take long to connect the dots that it was her sister, well, that is not my problem now. Regardless of that, I asked her for a divorce, which is now in process. She was devastated. She swore to me more than once that nothing happened with anyone again, that she has been faithful to me in body and soul since then. I held back the urge to insult her to avoid complications during the divorce issue, not believing a word she said, mostly blaming the alcohol instead of taking the blame herself. After talking about it, she threatened me saying that she would demand full custody of the child. I was so annoyed at that moment that I told her okay, I don't want anything to do with something that is not mine, that she keep the child and I'll keep the dogs. We have 2 dogs that we adopted as puppies and they are currently 8 years old each. After my word, she tried to convince me to take care of the child with her, that I am his father. At that moment I exploded. I was so angry and I had held back so much the urge to scream that I just yelled her to go and take her bastard with her. A week has passed since that and I am at home. It is in my name because it is a gift from my parents. She went to her parents' house with her kid. She has not called me since then. She left with everything and the half-asleep kid when I yelled at her. Especially since it was the first time I really yelled at her, it sure affected her. I talked to my parents and my dad told me that I did the right thing and that I shouldn't be raising something that is not of my blood, and I agree with him. However, the pain is still there. My younger brother told me to write here to entertain myself. I am currently seeing a therapist 3 times a week, who told me that I have already taken the first step, which was to leave behind what causes me pain. It just hurts to know that my family no longer exists. Regarding why my sister-in-law told me everything, according to her, she felt guilty seeing me always happy with my son, knowing that he may not be mine, and that the fact that we went to visit her in a moment of weakness caused her to completely break down with guilt. I don't know how true that is. I just know that right now I feel tremendous hatred for my wife and a feeling between pain and resentment for the child, although it's just time to get ahead. I just hope the divorce goes smoothly. We have separate financiers and properties, and if she really asks for child support I have proof that it's not mine. According to my lawyer that's more than enough if she tries a legal process for that. My therapist also recommended that I not see him nor her, that regardless of the child's feelings, I should focus on my own first, that the child is no longer my problem and the sooner I accept it, the better. I trick-or-treated alone, 7 years ago, to save my life. I was 24 years old. I was about to be evicted from my apartment because I couldn't pay rent. I had lost my job and no longer had an income. I began to starve. My only nutrition came from free popcorn offered at a grocery store, which was a 30-minute walk away from my apartment. Shortly before I lost my apartment I came to the realization. I could dress up in a costume, go trick-or-treating by myself, then survive by eating candy. I didn't have a costume. I was starving to death, and the fatigue was severe. I came up with the idea to put on a bunch of Ed Hardy clothes. I came up with an alibi. The reason for my costume was because I was the ghost of Ed Hardy, famous tattoo artist. Imagine a skinny 24-year-old pale guy, going door to door, asking for candy with a black cloth sack. I looked like a criminal. I got so much candy. I could not believe the generosity of the people that I interacted with. Complete strangers chilling at home, who were expecting children, filled my bag with candy. Some people looked shocked, others found it funny. I still can't believe I worked up the courage to do that at age 24. After about an hour of trick-or-treating, I returned home to my apartment. The door lock was broken because a meth head kicked my door in a few weeks prior. It didn't feel like a safe home because of that. I couldn't lock the door. I proceeded to fill my stomach with as many candy bars that I could. I packed my stomach with chocolate. Due to extreme starvation followed by heavy nourishment, I experienced a very strange, intense euphoria. It felt as though I smoked a large amount of marijuana. Lights became dim, my vision shifted to fuzzy, and an incredible sense of peace washed over me. I felt so calm/high. I ended up blissfully falling asleep in my queen-sized bed. The fear of my housing situation melted away, and all I felt was tranquility. I never get to share this story. It's one of the few highlights of my life. I regret raising my siblings. My mom went to federal prison when I was 17. She had been in and out of county jail for my entire childhood. Never drugs or prostitution. It was always retail theft, bad checks, etc. She had 6 children to 5 different men. 3 boys, then 2 girls, and then 1 boy. I'm the oldest child and she had me when she was almost 19. My youngest brother is 15 years younger than me. She committed mortgage bank fraud and did almost 8 years in the feds. My grandma helped us but died when I was 20 years old, and she was also convicted of conspiracy for not cooperating against my mother and did 9 months in a federal prison. She died 9 months later after her release. No other family to speak of that would help. I was able to gain full guardianship of my 2 brothers closest to me in age and one of my sisters. I maintained that guardianship for each of them until they were 18. My sister, however, was able to live with my mother for most of her teens because my mother was released by that time. My brothers, however, were over 18 or almost over 18 when she came home. For anonymity's sake, we'll call my brothers A and B and my sister C. My brother A is alive and well. He is employed, married to a nurse, owns a home, and has 2 children. Brother A sounds great, but there's a reason for my regret. Brother B is deceased. He was killed when he was 19 in 2016 by gunfire in a setup. He was killed by someone he called a friend who lured him there to sell him some weed. He had a girlfriend who was 5 months pregnant. She had the baby, my nephew. Brother A got Brother B's baby's mom pregnant a year and a half later, which gave me another nephew. Obviously, this did not go over well. Brother A was never in a relationship with her, nor did he intend to date her. Brother A didn't play a part in his child's life for the first year because of his wife, then girlfriend, and her disdain for the baby. Brother A was on drugs bad and very much lost in life. I was able to get him into rehab, and since he's gotten out of rehab, he's slowly cut off his family because his wife forces him to. Brother A even tried to have our nephew from our deceased brother and his son separated unless 2 adults were present. Brother A's wife and my wife do not get along, mainly because his wife is from a privileged background and we are not. There's a culture clash and a judgmental feeling in the air during every interaction. This is not just with my wife. Brother A's wife has this issue with our entire family. Our family still tried to love and accept her. However, she isn't interested. Brother A and his wife have a daughter. My family isn't allowed to know her. He can't stop us knowing his son because his son's mother, remember she has a kid to our deceased brother too, is like a sister to my family, which only makes the situation worse. Brother A was well aware of all of this and acted as if she was a sister to him as well, but clearly he wanted more. Brother A has made up disgusting things about our deceased brother's 6-year-old son and had his lawyer put it in writing in an attempt to separate his son and nephew. Sister C is 18. She has a speech problem and is on the spectrum. However, she refuses to admit this as an adult. She does not work. She got her diploma online during COVID and cheated. She had Brother A's wife do all of the work for her. She got pregnant at 17. We did not find out about the father until well into her pregnancy. Sister C continually lied about her child's father's age. She gave multiple ages and names. Finally, we found out he is the same age as me, 14 years older than my sister, in his 30s. She had the baby and within a month had a new boyfriend. She moved in with him. We had a major falling out over her lifestyle, her taking a newborn to a man's house she barely knows, etc. Sister C was involved in an incident between my other sister, herself, and my mother-in-law in which the police were called. This incident resulted in Sister C messaging me demanding I pay for her phone to be fixed. She had already gotten the front paid for and fixed by someone else. She was demanding I fix the back of her phone. When I refused, she tried to guilt me by saying I didn't care about my niece. She would miss doctor appointments, etc. because of this. Meanwhile, it was the back of her phone and she was literally communicating with me on her phone. Sister C told me she knows more about being a parent because she has a baby and I don't have children of my own. Something you created, in her words. So my 2 current stepsons who I've raised for the past 6 years, they don't count because they're not my blood. My siblings, including her, who I struggled to provide for and raise, don't count because they're not my biological children. So I raised 3 kids. 1 is dead. The other 2, I don't even speak to. Honestly, the disappointment they fill me with has me hurt beyond belief. I find myself crying when my wife isn't around or when she's asleep. I'm not ashamed for her to see me cry. I just don't even have anything to say about it anymore. Why was my brother taken? Why is my other brother acting this way toward me and his family? Why is my sister living like this? I raised all of them to be so much better people. I really tried. I was a kid, but I was at every doctor appointment, school meeting, IEP meeting. I worked 7 days a week at 2 jobs. I gave up on going to college so I could work and provide for them. It cost me so much time and effort. I regret not putting that time and effort into myself. I'm not where I want to be in life. I never imagined having a bad relationship with any of my siblings, especially the ones I raised. I feel like such a failure.